Okay, so today we're going to go over supplements. And being in the fitness, sports performance industry for about 15 years, early on, I realized I used to love to buy supplements. And then when you get to kind of learn about the science and the research, you start to realize that things are not always as they may seem, and especially with supplements. I see a lot of people, whether that's with clients or past clients or just friends and family, that buy things, spend a good amount of money, not necessarily knowing either one, should they be taking this? Is it even beneficial to their goals? Or two, when it comes to a brand, is that the right product or the best product for that money that you're spending? And we're going to go over that today. So we're going to talk about marketing, what to look for on a label. Most of this topic is going to revolve around all supplements, but part of the presentation is going to be dictated on and focused on protein, because that's probably the most purchased supplement out there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and let's get going. Okay, so we're going to start from the top. Okay, supplement scams, and I put that out there because it is a scam. I think when people are buying things and they think they're getting a certain product and they're not getting the results that they're getting told on the label or from the manufacturer, I think that becomes an issue, and that pisses me off when people are getting taken advantage of. I think this is getting better. I think supplement companies are realizing finally that consumers are getting smarter, more information out there for them to learn. So it is getting better, but they're still out there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about supplements and marketing. Okay, the dirty little secret. So let's kind of on the surface, you have to realize that most of, and I hate saying many, not even most, but many of the supplements on the shelves, if you walk into a GNC and you look at all the supplements out there, there's a good chance that that most of those claims that they're saying on the nutrition label, on the label, they're not necessarily going to be true. And that's just the playing from a statistical standpoint, from a percentage standpoint. Most of them will say things that not necessarily is backed up by the research, right? Whether that's the results that they're going to claim, the studies that they cite. And again, when we talk about when you see manufacturers cite studies, don't just take it for, all right, it has a study, because you never know if those studies were done on rats. Now, it doesn't mean that studies that are done on rats or rodents are not necessarily beneficial, because they are. However, when it comes to extrapolating the results that the rats got and saying that that's going to automatically transfer into it happening onto us as humans, that's extrapolation, right? We can use that data to give us some hypothesis, but to claim that because the rats, had higher protein synthesis with this supplement, that automatically it's going to work on humans, right? It just doesn't work out that way. Also, you got to look at dosages. A lot of times when they're giving the research, when they're giving, whether it's on rodents or on humans, and they're doing trials, they may be giving them high dosages. And when they give you their product, the dosages are fairly small. So you can't necessarily say just because they got a result during their study, and then you're not using the same doses, that you're automatically going to get the same result, right? So you always got to look at the studies. Go out there and just go on Google and look it up and see what kind of population did they use. How many people did they use? If they only use it on 5 people, like that doesn't, it's data, but it doesn't automatically mean everyone is going to work on everyone, right? You want a big sample size. You want to know if it was a double blind study, who funded the study, all this stuff. So you want to gather as much data and then make your best educated guess. If not, go look and talk to an expert in the field, whether it's a trainer, coach, a university professor. Go and find people that study this stuff, that research this stuff, that love discussing this stuff, and get their opinions as well. Now, when it comes to the purity and the dosing, a lot of times these supplement manufacturers may not be as controlled as you might think. So their dosages may be off when it comes to a serving size and things like that. So the dosage per serving. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. Okay. So we've all seen a nutrition label, and let's just take this one for example. You're going to see clinically proven helps reduce weight, helps reduce body fat, safe and effective, right? And then it says dietary supplement. Now, if this was a drug, it wouldn't be able to say that, right? Because the FDA has tight regulations when it comes to drug manufacturers and labeling. You can't say this stuff, right? But you're going to see, however, on something like this, you're going to see those little asterisks, those little crosses. That's at some point you're going to kind of turn the label and you're going to see not to be proven or not to be safe and effective, approved by the FDA, some sort of asterisk where it could typically say that on the label and not necessarily back it up with research and things like that. Right? So I think it's getting slightly better, but I still see a lot of these outlandish claims on a nutrition label with these little asterisks, and people fail to realize that, that's marketing. They can label that, sadly, and not necessarily provide scientific or efficacious evidence for it. So be careful. When you have a supplement, take a peek. And if it has these little, sayings of it's going to help you do this and that and that, and then it has a little asterisk or a cross or something on it, just be careful. That's probably saying too much for that given supplement. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, let me shrink this down a little bit. So there's a term when it comes to protein spiking. Okay, so protein spiking, I'll talk a little bit on the next slides as well. But essentially, if you look at this, let's just say this is your protein shake. Okay, you have different layers of essentially ingredients, right? So let's just say at the bottom, you have some random ingredients. Okay, non-protein nitrogens. Okay. And then here in these two layers, or maybe even the three layers, you got some other amino acids that replace protein because they're typically less expensive and should not be counted as protein on a nutrition or supplement label. So you have these amino acids like glycine, taurine, arginine. They're amino acids, but when you're getting a whey protein shake, you're not paying for that. You're paying for the leucines, the isoleucines, the branched chain amino acids, all the other essential amino acids. Not to say these are worthless, but when it comes to buying that stuff, you're not paying for that. But manufacturers will easily put this stuff in there to quote unquote spike your protein so it can meet the label claims of 25 grams. But you have to realize these ingredients are fairly cheap for manufacturers to throw in, right? Or they may put some creatine in there. Again, I'm a big fan of creatine, but it should not be a substitute for protein, right? I love creatine, but creatine is extremely cheap to get on its own. So there's no reason for you to be buying a whey protein and then getting it spiked with creatine. Okay, so you can tell these amino acids, creatine, glycine, taurine, arginine, and then some other random ingredients. These random ingredients could be fillers such as maltodextrin. So it's just a cheap sugar. Maybe some other proteins like gelatin or collagen type proteins and things like that. So just something to keep in mind. But I like this visual where, again, you have think of this more of a protein scoop. So you got this stuff right here is maybe your whey protein, and then you got all this other stuff that's going to give you your 25 grams supposedly. So be careful. Okay, so now let's move on. Let me move this little thing. Let's move on to buying the right, and this one specifically is going to be protein. I'm trying to get this figured out. Okay, buying the right protein. So what do we want to look for? First things first is you want to look at that nutrition label. One kind of good thing to look for is are they listing out the amino acid profile? And I'll show you a picture of that, what that means in the next couple slides on an actual nutrition label. But what it means is you want them to list out, okay, per 25 grams of protein, think of one scoop. How many grams of leucine, how many grams of isoleucine, how many grams of valine, how many grams of glutamine, whatever. You want it to list everything that scoop has so you can do some math, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so if it has an amino acid profile listed, that's a pretty decent sign that they're kind of on the up and up. Look for cheap amino acids like we talked about earlier, glycine or taurine. Those are amino acids. really, really cheap to just fill and put into into the supplement, and then it's going to bump up to get those 25 grams of total proteins, right? Look for additions like we talked about earlier, creatine, but also like beta alanine. Again, great ingredients by themselves, but they shouldn't be in your whey protein. You can buy those separately. When you're buying whey protein, you want whey protein. Okay, you want to make sure it has what you're paying for. The key thing with these, again, these are great ingredients, but when it comes to putting them into your protein or even like a pre-workout, they may not have efficacious dosages. So that's just a fancy word of, if let's just say for beta alanine, like the research has showed that you want to be given about 3.2 grams of beta alanine per serving. And I think you want to get about 2 times a day. So about 6.4 grams a day. I want to make sure that that's still the research is backed up by, but your whey protein might give you maybe 500 milligrams, so half a gram, and say, oh, it has beta alanine, but it doesn't have the amount that you actually need to get the right effects, right? Or creatine, typically we look for about 3 to 5 grams of creatine every day, but they might give you 500 milligrams. So that's half a gram of creatine, and they're going to say, oh yeah, it has creatine. So you think you're getting creatine, but even though you're not getting the dosages that you really want to build muscle, to enhance your strength and power and those types of things, right? Or even some cognitive benefits. So you want to make sure you're buying these ingredients outside of that protein supplement, or if you want it all together, make sure it's listed and it's giving you the right dosages, okay? Okay, so what do we want to look for when we're buying the supplement? Okay, so let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so what do we want to look for? First thing is proprietary blends, okay, or matrices, right? When a supplement manufacturer puts proprietary blends, typically it's going to be on the ingredients list, and it might probably be the very first ingredient listed. So I might say proprietary blend, muscle building matrix, or something like that. That's telling you that it has a host of ingredients, right? You don't really know how much of each one. It could have some caffeine, creatine, beta alanine, leucine, all this stuff, and they just sprinkle it in and they make it into this fancy so-called blend, right? So you don't know how much you're getting of each of those ingredients. So if your trainer's like, hey, you should be getting about 3 to 5, or let's just say 5 grams of creatine, you're thinking, oh yeah, this has creatine, but it doesn't even have close to what you need. Or even if you look at like energy drinks, you'll have like some energy drinks that say creatine on them. So you think, oh, this is awesome, right? But they're just sprinkling it on so they can label it as having creatine, but it's not going to give you those 3 to 5 grams of creatine per day, right? Again, going back to looking at the amino acid profile. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of math. I'm going to make this a little smaller really quick. Okay, so when we look at a nutrition label, so this brand, I didn't purposely pick this brand, but I do want to say that Dymatize is one of my favorite brands, not only because they're awesome and they list all their stuff out, but they fund a lot of research and put money into researching their actual products, which is awesome. So when you're buying a protein supplement, okay, so this is specifically for protein. Typically, leucine is like the anabolic amino acid, and that's just a fancy word saying that's probably the most important one. You don't want just leucine, you want all essential amino acids, but leucine is kind of like the one that we definitely want to have in our ingredients. However, we want the right dosage of that amino acid. So typically there's about 10% leucine and about 20 in your typical whey proteins. Okay, so if you do a little math down here, so for every, let's just say 20 grams of whey protein, there should be about 2 grams of leucine, right? 20%. If you're getting 25 grams of whey protein, should have about 2.5 grams of leucine percent, or per 25 grams. So you want to make sure that ratio is fairly consistent, because if not, that means they're not giving you all the right amounts of amino acids, specifically and especially that leucine one. So if we look at this nutrition label on the side here, this one actually labels leucine, right? So It's got 25 grams of protein per serving. And then here it labels out, okay, what the heck does all that stuff has? And it tells you it's giving you 2.7 grams of leucine. So if we do some math, we're looking, if we want 25 grams of protein, a whey protein, we're looking for a minimum of 2.5. This product is giving us 2.7. So that means we're getting our money's worth, and we're getting especially that amino acid leucine in the right amounts. Okay. So that's something you can do, is look at to see if your supplement lists how many amino acids, especially look for the leucine one, do some math, 10% of whatever per serving it is, it should hit at least 10%. Okay. Anything above is awesome, but it should hit at least minimum of 10% of that product. Okay. So now we're talking about marketing. Okay. So this is kind of like the one that, it's, to me, it was an eye opener. Once you understand human psychology and human behavior, specifically consumer behavior, you realize how these companies make a lot of money, right? So first things first, when it comes to supplements, many of the smaller / newer companies are probably getting all of their raw ingredients from the same manufacturer. So these are smaller, newer companies. It could be like if I went to go start a supplement company called Titan Supplements, more likely I'm going to get that same protein from a same warehouse or same manufacturer that tons of other companies are getting it from. All mine's different is because I'm maybe choosing different flavors, and I'm putting a different label, different way that it comes packaging, things like that, right? So you got to realize a lot of these smaller and newer companies get their ingredients from all the same. Okay, so that should tell you something, that pretty much it's all the same, right? Except for these bigger companies that have been around for a long period of time. A lot of them have their own spot that they go to, or they might have their own manufacturer company, right? They're making stuff in-house, which is awesome. So the main difference is the marketing campaigns. Okay, so you're talking about social media influencers, athletes, celebrities, etc. So when you see all these Instagram, models or fitness people promoting this certain product, you got to realize that a lot of times when it comes to athletes or celebrities, one, they're not even taking that product, right? I will never assume that they're not, but it's just, I've been told that a lot of them just get a check for taking a picture with their Instagram post, right? They get a nice little check with just their picture. But also other, fitness influencers, whatever you want to call them, are getting a kickback, right? And again, I got no problem with promoting a supplement that I believe in, and then it's efficacious, it's been around, it's tried and tested, but I'm not gonna just plug a random small new company that I don't have 100% trust in, because now I'm putting myself on the line. However, there are a lot of people that they don't have those same ethics. They're just gonna, hey, if they have 500,000 followers and they're a fitness person, a company might say, hey, we'll give you, $5,000 if you post our product on your, on your page a few times a month or weeks, whatever it may be. And all they're going to do is pretend like they're taking it and drinking it. Maybe they're drinking it, don't know, but that should be at least a red flag. Try not to fall for that marketing. Okay. Don't fall for, just because you follow a certain person and you trust them, that you should just take what they're taking. Doesn't mean, you shouldn't, but do your research, but don't assume that everyone's on the up and up. Okay. Spends marketing. They spend a lot of money. There's a lot of companies that spend a ton of money on advertisement and marketing and spend much less on quality control, right? They're spending tons of money on Facebook ads, Instagram ads, but they're not really looking into third-party testing and things like that. So you got to know marketing is a lot of times the number one priority for these smaller and newer companies, because they just want to get their name out there, sell as many things as they can, and make as much money. And then eventually maybe they get like a lawsuit or they go out of business. They don't care. They got their money in, they made their money, and then they're going to go and maybe start another company, right? And lastly, understanding that marketing takes advantage of human behavior, right? These behaviors are informed by psychological, social, and emotional variables, right? Emotional meaning, oh my gosh, it's saying it's gonna, 30 days is gonna flatten my stomach. Psychological, it's preying on your fears or on your weaknesses. And then social is like, hey, if my favorite celebrity or all my friends are taking it, I should take it. There's some peer pressure and things like that. So just understand that does happen. Okay, so I found this little thing on the web. Don't know where it came from, or else I would give them credit. But it's a cool little thing to like a checklist. How to check whey protein quality. Oh, there it is. Actually, this guy, Andy_Rip_Body. Okay, so what it is number one, is leucine created content listed on the black label? Okay, so the very first thing is no, then you avoid it. Okay, so you avoid it if it doesn't have those amino acids, specifically even leucine, listed on the nutrition label. Okay, then you check, you do a little bit of math, you do the 10% rule. This one has 25 grams and it has 2.7 grams of leucine. Check, it passes the test. If not, then you avoid. Okay, so if this number, my little mouse, if this number was maybe, I don't know, 2.0 or 1 point something, avoid. So this would pass the test. Is it reasonably priced and not suspiciously cheap? Again, you get what you pay for a lot of times. So if something's on sale at, your typical Target, Walmart, whatever it may be, maybe that's not the best product because it's so cheap. That means they're probably not spending a lot of money, again, on quality control. And if it passes all these tests, then consider buying it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some labels on nutrition supplements. So let me go back one. So you're going to see some of these little, what I call badges on supplements. Okay, you have the NSF, the USP, and the Consumer Lab. Okay, so you'll see a combination. Sometimes you'll see all of them on certain supplements, and then you'll see one more, which is probably my favorite, is the Informed Choice, trustedbysport.org. So if you're an athlete, more likely you're looking for this one, the NSF, and this one. Okay, these are the two that if you're an athlete, you want to make sure whatever you're taking has this. Even if you're getting it for free, just be careful. That's all I can tell you. If you're getting it for free, I know it's saving you some money, but you don't know what's in that. And if you're a drug tested athlete, you're putting yourself at risk. So all these companies are third party, meaning that they're not associated directly with any company. It's a completely third party company. And I'll show you how it works here. Okay. So we have a little table here. So there's a different one here. The Informed Choice is not on this one, but this is a UL, it's another third party lab. So you have all four third party lab tests. Okay. Again, I got this a few years ago, so I'm not sure if they've updated their numbers or their rigors, okay, or the answers to these questions. So does it buy initial test samples in stores, or are they provided? So you can tell that this company is provided by the manufacturer. Consumer Lab will go to a GNC, to a NutriShop, wherever, and then they'll just buy a random product from that company. And then so on, these two are provided by the manufacturer. So you can see each third-party testing does a little bit different. How often does it retest or spot check? So this company, 1 to 6 times per year, right? Once per year here, once per year, twice per year, and so on. How much do manufacturers pay to have it certified? So you can tell it ranges in price. You got $3,000 up to $15,000 per product, okay? And then they have a $15,000 audit fee. So this is not cheap, okay? This company, $3,000 to $5,000 per product, $3,000 to $5,000, $2,000 to $8,000. So again, this is why a lot of smaller, newer companies, they'd rather spend that money on marketing versus getting their product tested, versus your known supplements that have been around for a long period of time. They know how important their trust is to their consumers. They're going to spend a lot of money on these tests so they can put that badge on their supplement, so you and I know it's been tested and we're getting what we're paying for. Because remember, this is per product. So if you have a protein you want to test, a creatine, a pre-workout, all these things, these are easily going to add up to a lot of money. So this is why you want to go with more of those tried and true and tested supplement manufacturers. Are there products it won't test? So sometimes it may not test. So like this one, it's not going to test weight loss or sexual enhancement products. This company is not going to contain known ingredients to be unsafe by the FDA. Products containing ingredients known to be unsafe. So they have some standards that they're going to go by. So again, you got to know which label is what you're looking for. And then to finish off, there's some of these websites. So the NSF, if you go to the website, you can download, I think they have an app, or you go to the website and you scan the barcode of the product you're going to purchase, and it'll literally tell you when was the last time they tested it, what did it pass, did it fail. So it's a pretty cool verification process where you can get your app, you can go to the actual like GNC, scan it, and see if it's been tested recently and been approved by the NSF. So that's kind of cool. And then this one specifically is going to be for your athletes. So if you go to informedchoice.org, you can literally type in the product of what you're thinking of buying, and it's going to tell you if it's considered safe, right? So if you are an athlete, if you are an athlete and you're getting drug tested, even if you're not getting drug tested, I would, again, still go and check your product out. But it's specifically if you're getting drug tested, make sure before you put anything in your body, you run it by this program and see what it says. And if it doesn't come up like it's been tested or hasn't done a test recently, then find another product, because it's not worth getting in trouble over a supplement that at the end of the day, it's your choice. You got to take ownership. You made the decision to take it, whether it was free and given to you to post about it, and you're taking it, and you get caught with an ingredient you shouldn't have in your system. That is on you, not on the supplement manufacturer. It is on you. So make sure you do your diligence. And especially if you're a professional athlete, there's no excuses. Okay, so let's stop sharing that. Okay, so hopefully you all got some great information from this presentation. I'm extremely passionate about education. I think one of the easiest ways that you can become a better informed consumer, whether it's buying a car or buying supplements or fitness, whatever, is to be educated. Because people like me who do this for a living, and I love it, we know kind of the tricks of the trade. And, if you're an ethical trainer, coach, you want to be on the side that's pushing good information and giving people the resources so they don't, get taken advantage of. Okay. Everyone works really hard for their money. We don't want you all spending money on products that you probably don't need, or you're not getting what you're actually paying for. So if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate you if you were able to reshare it, tag some people underneath. So especially if you have some friends that are athletes or your kids are athletes, tag them in the comment section below. Share this video on any platform. All I'm trying to do is pass along great information that I know to be true, and get consumers a lot more caught up on some of the tricks that a lot of these companies are doing, so you're not getting taken advantage of. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this video and getting educated on topics such as supplements. I look forward to doing more educational presentations with everyone. See you guys later.